Hey there, Games Apprentice back with another Evercade review. This week I'm going to be reviewing the Interplay Collection 1. Let's find out if it's groovy! Since 1983, Interplay Entertainment has developed and published hundreds of highly regarded games and has produced licensed titles for many of the most popular interactive entertainment software platforms in the action, arcade, adventure, RPG, and strategy puzzle categories. Interplay's portfolio of well-recognised titles includes Battle Chess, ClayFighters, Descent, Earthworm Jim, Free Space, Giants, Messiah, MDK, Run Like Hell, and Sacrifice. Interplay also holds rights to many former Virgin Interactive and Titus Interactive titles. The Interplay Collection 1 has got a measly 6 games on the cart. This would be great if they were all excellent, but they're not, most of them are duds. Let's find out which ones as I rank them from worst to best. Number 6, Titan. When I first fired up Titan, I was like, wow, I love Breakout, what a fun concept this is. Because that's basically what it is, Breakout, but you can move in multiple directions and you're trying to break blocks in a wider area. There's also no way to die, so it's more like a puzzle than an arcade game. Unfortunately, it's just awful to play. It's almost impossible to aim the ball where you want it to go, you're just bashing into it and hoping for the best. To make matters worse though, the camera movement is vomit-inducing. I don't think the backgrounds help either, but it's painful whenever you need to scroll, which is a lot. Doing more than a handful of levels on this game is a real endurance test. Avoid it at all costs. Number 5, Boogerman. I always saw Boogerman as a kid and thought it looked terrible, and I was a kid, I didn't know any better. I would rent any old game and this one just didn't sit with me. For any younger viewers watching, that's what we did back then, we rented games and hoped they were good. Boogerman is a platforming game where you pick your nose and flick it at enemies to kill them. The levels are boring, the platforming feels clunky. The big sprites tricks you into thinking it's a good looking game. I bet in magazine screenshots it would have looked really decent, but in reality it's a pretty ugly game. It's by no means the worst platformer on the Evercade, but I can't imagine you'll want to stick with this one for long. Number 4, Battle Chess. Battle Chess was the first game I ever played on the Interplay collection, and I was pretty sure it was going to be in last place after playing it, but then I played the games I've just talked about, so here we are. In terms of how good a chess game it is, I have absolutely no idea. The only people I've ever beaten at chess are people I'm teaching the basic rules to in the first place. I love strategy games, but for whatever reason, I just absolutely suck at chess. I was even laughing to myself how I was a move away from checkmate in Battle Chess, and then the AI proceeded to absolutely annihilate me. As for the rest of the game, if you don't know how to play chess already, this game isn't going to teach you. It definitely works off the assumption that you're already familiar with the rules. I remember playing either this or a different version of this on the Amiga as a kid, purely to see all the different kill combinations between each pieces, and I guess that's the game's main selling point, because the way it plays is just unbelievably slow. Every time you move a piece, it has to walk to the location at the slowest pace. Don't even get me started on the castles animation. When they battle, it has to transition into a different screen for them to have the little fight. It's an odd concept because a good part of the game is chess, but the bad part of the game is that it's battle chess. Number 3, ClayFighters. ClayFighters is the first game on this list that isn't below average. It's a very average fighting game and sits proudly at number 3 on the list. It claims to have lightning fast gameplay, but I guess fighting game speeds haven't aged well. But it's certainly no Street Fighter 2, Mortal Kombat, Killer Instinct or Turtles Tournament Fighters, the SNES one, not the rubbish Mega Drive one. It's fairly competitive though, and the characters feel well balanced. It was popular enough back in the day to spawn an N64 sequel, which proceeded to kill off the franchise, and it's definitely one I rented numerous times. Graphically, it looks great for the time though, and it doesn't do a lot wrong, it's just not quite good enough to reach the peak of 16-bit fighters. Number 2, Incantation. Now this is what I love about the Evercade. I mean, who's ever heard of Incantation? I've never seen this one before in my life. However, it's one of the best games on the Interplay Collection 1. It's basically a platformer where you're a wizard who can shoot stuff at enemies out of his wand. It's basic enough, but it does all the basics right. The platforming is challenging without being unfair. You need to find keys to finish the level, which encourages exploring, which I'm always a fan of as I'm too lazy to explore if they make it optional. Boss fights are certainly more interesting than in stuff like Super Mario World. Got to get in a Super Mario World dig. It's also one of the only games on the cart that I actually wanted to get good at, so I could see more of it. It's by no means the greatest 16-bit platformer I've played, but it's certainly a lot better than the rest of the rubbish on this cart. Number 1, Earthworm Jim. I loved Earthworm Jim growing up. The game, the humour, the cartoon voiced by Homer Simpson's Dan Castellaneta. I never owned it, but I rented it a lot. Going into this one, I will say, go into options and whack the difficulty down from normal to what is embarrassingly called practice. Even with the save states, I couldn't clear the first level's mid-level boss on what it refers to as normal. I played this game on the Mega Drive and SNES, and that difficulty is not normal. With the difficulty set to something a bit more acceptable, make no mistake, Earthworm Jim is still a pretty tough game, but it's still really fun to play. The boss fights are unique, it's got a good variation of levels, and the music is excellent. Sure, the platforming is a bit clunky. There'll be annoying hook whips that you've got to pull off that will take you far longer than is necessary, but it's still a decent game and the standout game on this collection, which is unsurprising as this is the game that most people will buy it for. The Interplay Collection 1 is not a bad collection, but it's not a good one either. 3 of the games are total duds, so it's really just going to come down to, do you want to play Earthworm Jim on your Evercade? Earthworm Jim has been released multiple times on multiple systems, so it's probably something you've already got. For that reason, I'm going to score the Interplay Collection 1 a measly 4.5 out of 10. Well, that's it. So if you've enjoyed the review, please do click subscribe. If you think I've been a bit too harsh, do sound off in the comments, and I'll catch you next time with another Evercade review. Until then, retro fans.